Thank you very much. It's 6:47. The Wenham Select Board has returned from its recess to resume its meeting, and we're very pleased and honored to be meeting jointly this evening with the Hamilton-Wenham Regional School Committee, and I know that Chair Dana Alaro will need to open her meeting.
Thank you, Ben. At this point, I call to order the meeting of the Hamilton-Wenham Regional School Committee at 6:47 p.m. on Tuesday, October 21st, 2025, and remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'd like to invite each of the candidates up to the table, and you can't see them, but if you look in front of the table, you'll see where your name tags are. And, yeah, you got it.
Ben, if I may.
What's that?
I may. I just.
Yes, please.
Welcome. Thank you all for joining us. I did just want to say to the board and to the committee and to the other candidates that I don't anticipate that Ms. Lambert is going to be joining us this evening. She had contacted me and let me know that that was a possibility, that she wouldn't be able to be here this evening.
So what happened to the 4th?
That's what
what I was saying. She's unable to be here this evening.
Absent from the in-person interviews. All right, well, welcome. And let me just say at the outset before we start how much I've enjoyed working with Dana as the chair of the select board, and we have coordinated this joint meeting, and we're very glad to have you here and to get as much participation from everyone as possible, and to have dialogue with you on some important issues. So the way we have agreed to begin is that each candidate will be given the opportunity to make an opening statement. We'd like you to please try to keep it to 1 to 2 minutes. We won't be too strict on time, but if you could keep it to under 2 minutes, that would be great. And we're just going to go in alphabetical order, which means that Mr. Hanson, you can begin.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Will Hanson. For those of you who I don't know, it's very nice to meet you, and it's very nice to see so many people in town who are willing to take on this role. I humbly ask for your support to become a member of the school committee. I'm not an educator, but a corporate attorney. I don't spend my time trying to win cases. Instead, I focus on trying to find solutions and negotiating balanced solutions. I built a career out of working with difficult situations and people that I don't often agree with, and I think my background is well suited to this role. I'm a hard worker and a quick study. I'm passionate about what I do, but also thoughtful and generally pretty calm. It's been clear over the past few years that our community has been divided, and I think I have the skill, experience, and mindset to help move forward. Service has also always been a large part of my life. I was an Eagle Scout. And as attorney, I've done pro bono work for many clients over the years, including doing some finance work for a charter school in Boston. This is a chance to give back to a community that has welcomed us, and particularly my kids, into the district. And that's the main reason that I volunteered. I'm a proud father of 3 kids, 2 at Bucher right now, 1 soon to be at Bucher. We're blessed to be able to live in a town with such amazing schools, and I'd like to do everything I can to help maintain that excellence and give all students in the district the best education possible. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Ms. Holbrook, you're next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Julie Holbrook. Thank you so much for entertaining us this evening. As I noted in my letter of interest when I applied for this position, we moved to Hamilton-Wenham from a neighboring North Shore town in 2012 because of the school district. We focused our search on Hamilton-Wenham when we were looking for a home. And we happened to find a house that allowed us to put a basketball court in the backyard, which was the only way I was going to convince my son to move with us. Our oldest started at Bucher 2 weeks after we moved, after a wonderful meet and greet with Kathy O'Shea, who was her first grade teacher. She, that daughter of mine, is now living her best life on my dime at Syracuse University, thanks in no small part to Hamilton-Wenham, and she and her friends and her classmates feel so incredibly well prepared for college. She said that to me at the end of last year. And that's just kudos to the schools for preparing these kids so well to go out into the big wide world. My family has been active in supporting the schools since we moved here. My husband was a member of the Ed Fund for many years. My daughter at Syracuse is a salesperson at the Christmas Tree Fund, and she maybe upsold some of you on the larger Christmas trees over the years. My son, who is a couple of years younger, worked on the Flynn's Ed Fund haunted house, Haunted Woods, for many, many years, both as an actor and as someone who built the materials. I'm interested in taking this role now because I want to give back to the community, as Will mentioned, and I have the capacity to do it. My kids have their driver's licenses, they're a little bit more independent, and it frees up a lot of your time, turns out, in the evenings. As Will mentioned, the town, it seems, has been, divided on a number of issues surrounding the schools, and I think that this is a great opportunity to try to bring the town together as we pursue the next path forward for our elementary schools. I've worked in education administration for 20 plus years, and I know really probably all too well the issues that schools face, and while I'm focused on higher education, we are dealing with the same issues across the board: research constraints, capital improvements, and planning for infrastructure, negotiating contracts. But of course, the most important thing is to figure out how to educate our children and our students so that they are happy and healthy and productive and engaged members of the community. One final confession that may end my candidacy right here and now, but I root for the Buffalo Bills. Thank you. Yeah. And so while the Pats are a nice sort of secondary team for me, I am a Bills fan through and through.
Very
Thank you.
bold confession there.
Public confession.
Ms. Noon?
Thank you. My name is Kristen Noon, and thank you to the Select Board and to the school committee for inviting me and my fellow candidates here this evening to meet you all. I have lived in Wenham for most of my life. I'm the parent of two boys who attend Bucher. They are in fourth grade and kindergarten, respectively. And I am interested in serving on the school committee at this time because I think the various experiences and values that I have could be really useful in this role at this moment. Through my personal and professional life, I've been very committed to education and to community, most recently by serving as the executive director of the Wenham Museum for the last 12 years, which was a function that had to meld both of those two needs together in educating and engaging the public, but also fostering and building community. I also have a very long commitment to public service. I was actually educated through Catholic schools, and I think a big benefit to that was always on the emphasis on giving back and helping and serving those who were less fortunate than you, and have brought that, forward into my professional life. I did, attend the College of the Holy Cross, and that's one of its core values there was to be a man or a woman for others, and have really tried to bring that forth into my life. And I attended law school, like Will. I am also an attorney, and I attended Suffolk Law School, which has a tremendous commitment to public service in the third sector, both through government and nonprofit work. Presently, I am back practicing law, and I work for a law firm that only serves the nonprofit and philanthropic sector. So I do spend a lot of time in the same sort of messy trenches that I think our community has found itself in, and trying to build consensus across disparate groups and interests. And bringing those sort of experiences that I have to life through service on the school committee, I think my temperament and my personal style, the relationships that I've been able to foster in the community over many years will be an asset. I tend to approach situations with curiosity, with kindness. I'm a seasoned leader. I've always tried to be fair, level-headed, willing to listen to everybody. I am an optimist, which I think you can't, be in this business if you are not. And I will also, make a decision when the time comes, knowing that sometimes that's not easy, but necessary. I know that the conversation around building the new consolidated school has been a main focus, and I think the facility needs will continue to be really important. But I also want to offer, that I think I could be a candidate for all of the district schools. At the school committee's meeting last week, I think 4 really critical goals were discussed. One of them being the need for continued facilities improvements and upgrades, but also needed policy around AI, supporting all of our learners through a multi-tiered approach, and addressing school start times, which I think will have tremendous impact on families and community organizations that are served by our district. So while I do want to continue to help support the community and moving the facilities questions forward, I want to help with those other issues as well. I care a lot about the town of Wenham. I'm happy to help. And I hope it is as a member of the school committee, but if it is not, I look forward to helping in another way. So, for your consideration.
Thank you. All right, so now we're going to begin a series of questions, the first three of which will be asked by members of the school committee. And the way it will work is that each of you will be asked to answer question one, and then each of you will be asked to answer question two, and so on. So, Dana, would you like to?
Sure. So we did not decide who was going to ask which question, but the school committee is going to ask the first three questions here, and we'll just see who's anxious to ask one. All right.
then
Megan
who
looks like
speaks
she's
first?
jumping in.
How do we do the order?
Why don't we stick with
So-
alphabetical, so it'll be, is that fine with you?
Yeah, and then and the next question, we'll want to mix it
Yeah, I
up.
think
Yeah.
we need to switch
Yeah.
it around.
We can do
or
kind of
as-
we'll do a loop, so we'll do Hanson, Holbrook, Noon, Holbrook, Hanson.
I'm going to write it down. Okay, we got it.
Keep us honest, Dana. Okay. Will, for you, what are your three top priorities for the school district, and how would you work on the committee to focus on these priorities?
That's a great question. I think, to start off, the district is, I think, doing a lot of things very well. It's consistently ranked at the top of the state, which I think speaks for itself, and I think I would do everything I can to help maintain that. I think there are a couple challenges. I think the schools, Cutler and Winthrop, are both in dire need of upgrades, with Bucher not far behind. I think finding a solution to that challenge needs to continue to be prioritized. I think it's clear that the district, as I mentioned before, has been divided on this point. I think this is a real challenge, and there's not many easy answers. I would prioritize community outreach, finding solutions that will be supported by the community, including, I think, immediately trying to restart process to seek, additional state funding for capital improvement projects. Another challenge, I think the district is only as good as its contracts with the superintendent, with teachers, with support staff. Making sure that we maintain, be a top school district, offering good contracts and top of the market incentives to draw in and retain talent should also continue to be prioritized. And I think the third part, I think this extends to the regional agreement itself. In its current form, the regional agreement is fairly out of date, often lacking in substance and in places a little sloppy. Amending and restating a strong regional agreement will be a challenge, as by its nature, it's a tri-party agreement, so you have to get both towns and the district to agree. That's not going to be easy to implement, but working towards a strong, clear, and updated agreement will benefit all parties, I think, by removing uncertainty, building trust in the school committee, or rebuilding some trust in the school committee, and clearly delineating roles. And I think this should also be prioritized.
Great. So same question for
Me again.
Ms. Holbrook.
So, as Will said, I think maintaining the excellence of the school district is the thing that we absolutely must do. And in my current role, I have begun to take on strategic planning initiatives on behalf of the dean. And what I have learned from that is that you have to be really clear in your mission. And I spent about 10 minutes today trying to find the mission on the Hamilton Wenham School District webpage, and it's buried in like an about section and then a strategic planning section and all of these things. It wasn't, it didn't pop up. And what I have found through my years of working at mission-driven institutions and being involved with mission institutions is that every decision that you make really needs to lead you back to the mission. And everybody needs to be on board with the mission, and they needed to know what the mission is. So many years ago, I started to work for a dean who opened every single meeting that he ever had with the mission. And at the beginning, I would think, we're going to hear this again. And then I realized he was just ingraining it in the staff and in the faculty and in the students. And when it came time to make difficult decisions, and this group of people have a lot of difficult decisions to make in the coming years. It was, okay, how does that get us back to this? What facilities do we need? What policies do we need? What activities do we need? What sort of buy-in from the teachers and the students and the staff that work so closely and wonderfully with our students do we need? And how do we get them to buy into that mission? So I found the mission statement, and then I found the vision in action, and I found all of these things, and I see it, it's posted all over the walls, and I think that that is great. But in all of the conversations about the consolidated school and the pros and cons of that, I didn't hear a ton of references to the mission. And I wonder if that is a way to sort of unify the community, so that we can all agree. I think we have all agreed on what the mission and the vision and action is, and we worked hard on those things. But maybe we make them front and center again and get past the sort of bad will and bad feelings that so many people have right now.
Thank you. For the three things that I think that the district should be focusing on, I think, firstly, I think it has to really be education. And I do really like the work that was done through a lot of stakeholder engagement, under the superintendent's leadership to kind of craft that portrait of a learner. And I think that could be a really helpful and useful guiding star. And it was a process where there was a lot of consensus and a lot of community input. And I think that is a bright spot that we could focus around and center around. I do also think ensuring that, consistency and equity and the educational experience across all of the schools is still a concern for everyone. I think it's ensuring that teachers and specials and special ed have the space and the resources that they need. I think if we're able to support our teachers and our faculty and staff with giving them the resources that they need, whatever they may be, it's not always necessarily money, but to support them, that they will support our students and give them the best education that they can. Lastly, I think, in general, I think money follows a plan. So I think for the facilities and aligning the needs of the facilities with the need of our programmatic program, I do think we do need a plan for that. And I think what would be probably helpful in a year one type of situation is really thinking of a process by which that plan could be developed so that all stakeholders feel as though they've been involved and that we go into future requests for change, for money, for doing things a different way are done with as much pre-existing consensus as possible to try to bring the community together to the best we can. So.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, next question. Ooh, they're so anxious. Amy.
Thank you.
So I think we're going to be starting with Julie, is that
Right?
correct?
Yes.
Okay. My question is, what do you see as the role of the school committee?
That was actually, when I was looking over the list of questions, that was the hardest question. I think that the role of the school committee is to be the experts on so many things about our schools and make difficult decisions. In parallel, they should be representing the views of the community and the concerns of the community, whether or not they agree with those views or those concerns. But I am a big believer that there are a lot of people who know a lot more about a lot of things than I am. And I want to learn from those people, and I want to take their advice. I don't pretend to be an expert in everything. And I think that, I hear a lot of, well, just this, I just know this in my gut. And I'm a lot more data-driven, and it's probably because I work with engineers and applied scientists and hardcore people who do not let you out of a room unless you have produced a lot of data to back up your perspective. And so I think the role of the school committee is to be the ones to look at that data and to analyze that data and to make informed decisions and recommendations based on that data. Again, whether or not they like what the data is telling them or not. And, I also think that, this is it. I have a lot of respect for everybody who sits on these kinds of boards in small towns, because especially in recent years, it's been, I think there's been a lot of conversation and feedback, negative and positive. And so, I do think that it is important for the town to have faith and trust in the people that they choose to sit on the select board and in the school committee. But primarily, I look to you all to be the ones to make informed recommendations, because you have a lot more data than just the average person, sitting in their house having opinions about things.
Am I next?
I think so, yes.
Yes, Kristen.
I just wanted to make sure. Thank you. I think, the role of the school committee has a few different purposes. I think you have to start with what it's authorized to do, by statute, where we have to, oversee the district, support the budgeting process, manage the contract for the superintendent or superintendent search, set policy for the district, handle all the collective bargaining issues. I think that is the starting point. I think sometimes things get hard, I think, when the community expects the school committee to weigh in on things that are actually staff prerogative to weigh in. So I think continuing to understand where the lines are between the school committee's oversight function and the operational function of the superintendent and the sort of org chart under him is a guiding role that the school committee needs to play, to really clarify when it is appropriate for the committee to weigh in and when it's not. And then obviously, when the committee is discharging its duties, I'm sure there are moments where it's gray, it can be a little mushy, especially in the area of policy questions. And I think, that's where understanding the needs of the students, the community feedback, the feedback of the faculty and staff, is really important in shaping those policies and decisions.
Thank you.
So I think looking at 5 arms of the school committee, I think developing policy, developing the budget, overseeing the superintendent, advocating for public education, and community engagement. I had a great conversation recently where it was explained to me that the school committee is more like a board of directors and the superintendent is more like a CEO. This is an analogy that works really well for me. I know how boards operate and I can implement this. Community engagement comes easy right now. I'm an active father of 3 girls, so I am very outnumbered, but also very engaged in the community right now and in the challenges that they're facing in schools and also in town. I think the budget is a very, very important part right now. I think it obviously takes up a lot of time of what the school committee is doing. I think setting the budget and making sure it meets what the district needs and is obviously a large priority, and it's something that I have quite a bit of experience working with clients' budgets and financial statements. I think public education advocacy is also very important. I've been a long supporter of public schools. I attended public schools. My grandfather and my mother-in-law are both middle school teachers their whole career. I've been around public education my whole life, and I think continuing to advocate and push for that, especially in a town where we see a lot of people, leaving the public school system and going to private schools. I think getting out there and being the face of, this is good and why it's good, and continuing to be an excellent district is very important.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then I think the next question, we will start with Kristen. Julia, were you interested in reading a question?
I think the 3 of you have answered this, but feel free to repeat yourself. What do you see as your qualifications and experience that make you a good fit for a position on the school committee?
Yes, so maybe just to build out a little bit more on some of the things in my introductory statement, I really do think I have a lot of experience in trying to build and foster consensus through just all of my time, I think, running a nonprofit and also working day to day really intensely with nonprofits. Nonprofits can be a little notoriously messy. And I think the sector has been through a lot of turmoil over the last, 12 or so months, with major changes in the federal funding landscape and a lot of hard decisions that a lot of my clients have had to make. And I have, in those kinds of situations, I think, people who serve on a nonprofit board, it's so near and dear and close to their heart, that they bring a lot of passion to those conversations. And I think that's really similar with the kind of feelings and moments we've experienced in our town of people advocating really passionately for their children or for what they believe is the best for the budget or the tax rate. I think a lot of those kinds of feelings and emotions can come through. And I think there is a way through that. I think sometimes it takes time. It requires letting people be heard, often hearing the same person multiple times, as they kind of get their message across. But I would say I do deal with that every single day and are able to, I think, get to the other side of that. And I think, the operative word is consensus, because it's not unanimity. It's sort of a general agreement that everybody can live with. And I think understanding that sometimes when you approach these things, you do have to listen to everybody. You do have to take their concerns seriously. They are real. And also understanding that there is not a solution that makes everybody happy. So it really, truly is a consensus-based process. So.
Thank you. Yeah, I think Will.
Thank you. I will repeat a little bit of what I said a moment ago, but I think looking at the 5 arms of the school committee, I think there are several that I'm well suited to participate in, particularly developing the budget, overseeing the superintendent, advocating for public education and community engagement. I think the budget one's an easy for me. My legal practice focuses on private equity and corporate finance, so I very often work with budgets and financial statements, and so there's a very solid foundation there, and it would only need to get up to speed on specifics. I'm a hard and diligent worker, and I don't have any concerns on that front. I'm also not a courtroom attorney, so I negotiate for a living. My whole job is really finding acceptable consensus for people on different sides of an issue. I had a client once comment that I have a particular skill in evaluating an issue and getting to the core of what is and what isn't important. Because in looking at a lot of these issues, there are often things that are not important, and there are often more things, especially for 2 different towns that are coming together, that are more important. And I think I would fill that role very well in the school committee.
Do you want me to repeat the question? You got it.
No, why I'm well suited. Okay. Why any of us are well suited to this. So I work at a university downtown, and I spend my days interfacing and negotiating with faculty and students. And when I tell you that negotiating with faculty at a major university downtown is that is a challenging role, and as Kristen said, everybody wants to be heard, and everybody has incredibly strong opinions, and everybody in that room thinks that they are the smartest person in that room. And we don't do anything without building a lot of consensus, but we also make decisions that people are unhappy with. And so that is just how I spend my days much of the time. And we are talking about the same kinds of things that people in education are talking about. We are talking about how to plan for capital projects. We are talking about how to deliver education in a world where our kids are better users of technology than we are, right? We are trying to plan to figure out a way to engage students and teach them and demonstrate and show them that you can have disagreements and you can have dialogue, and it doesn't need to become confrontational, and it doesn't need to be hostile. I mean, I am talking about that with students who are in their 20s, and I am talking about that with my kids who are in their teens, and I am talking about that with younger kids who I see. And so I am very much sort of in the trenches of thinking about the kinds of issues that I think school committees across the country are facing.
Thank you. Periodically, everyone just needs to wave their arms, and that will get the
Saving
lights to
electricity.
stay on. I chose not to do. I chose not to do that while you all were speaking.
Distracting when you're talking.
All right, to the select board.
Yes, thank you. So the select board is now going to ask 3 questions, and we'll follow the same process. I'm not sure exactly what looping will do, but we'll get to that. So Deirdre, I think that you have the first question.
Thank you. All right. How would you get up to speed on the governmental aspects of the school committee and also municipal budgeting?
Do you want to maybe direct them, like the order?
Oh,
Is it back to me now?
Back to alphabetical.
Yeah, I think it's back to Will. Yep. Back to Will.
For fear of repeating myself from what I said a moment ago, I think for the municipal budget part, I think that's an easy one for me. I do a lot of corporate finance work. I work with financial statements and budgets all the time. So I think that's a very solid foundation. It would be the only thing I would need to do is get up to speed on the specifics here and learn this particular budget, and I don't have any concerns with doing that. On the municipal side, I'm not a municipal attorney, but I think, reading being extremely familiar with the regional agreement, especially as it's in the process of being renegotiated, understanding the role of the school committee and how that fits and what is required of it under, mass laws, town bylaws, everything. I don't have any concern with that. It fits very well with what I do.
So I have spent a lot more time than I would like to in the last year and a half thinking about budgets and the impacts of government decisions, federal government decisions that have dramatically impacted our budgets, and coming up with contingency planning for funding based on, a lot of unknowns. I'll be really honest, like the budget is not the thing that I love. I'm a lot more interested in policy and sort of strategic planning and those kinds of things. But I'm confident in my ability to look at it, understand it, ask the people who know all of the questions. And I have gotten a lot more familiar and a lot more comfortable with budgets and thinking about, the way federal guidelines impact budgets and things, and than I would have liked to in the last year. And so I just, I think a lot of it will be just sitting down and absorbing it and reading it, and then just asking a ton of questions.
Thank you. I also feel comfortable that that's something that I could get up to speed on. I also think it could be appropriate to, be the oversight body that's asking the questions of the superintendent and the finance director who has prepared the budget. Oftentimes I know, like in a nonprofit setting, like staff is working really hard on the budget, brings it to an oversight or an overseeing body to really like probe the budget, ask questions. Why is this amount going up? Why has this changed? And to really kind of learn about the budget process that way. There's also, I know, a lot of resources available online through, the Association of School Committees and other materials that kind of talk about like best practices and developing the budget and reviewing the budget. And I think that would also be something that I would be reviewing in the lead up to budget season. So.
All right. Karen, the next question's yours.
Yes, reflecting on the recent votes from the Cutler School expansion, where there was a differential in voter support between the two towns. Do you have ideas on how to promote a greater unity between the two towns for any future major district projects?
I think we're starting with Julie.
Is that me?
Yep.
I was looking right at you.
I know,
Yeah.
I was ready to go, but I wasn't sure. Okay.
I can read it over if you want me to.
That's a doozy.
Yeah, it did it.
That's a doozy, right? And so I think for me, it goes back to something I said earlier, which is, I think the two towns, there is a lot of common ground, right? I think we can all agree that we want to maintain excellence in our schools. We disagree on maybe the best path to get there. But we need to continually reiterate to one another and to town leadership in both towns that we are all looking to do the same thing ultimately. And there will be one path forward, and some people will like that path more than others. But there will be only one path forward, and we can't cut off our nose to spite our faces here, right? The perfect cannot be the enemy of the good. We have to, as Kristen alluded to earlier, come up with a process that has buy-in, that people feel is fair, that people feel is transparent, where they feel like they have an opportunity to be heard. And then we need to rely on the various experts in the field to tell us how we do the thing it is that we're ultimately decide to do after we've done all of this due diligence. The town is divided, the country is divided. It is just like an incredibly difficult period in our time right now. And I think all we can do is take very small steps collectively as a small town and try to convince people that the group that makes these decisions, the select board, the school committee, the FinCom committee, all of these things are operating with the best of intentions, right? And that maybe you don't like a decision that they make, but it doesn't mean that it was nefarious. And we just have to continually remind ourselves of that, and we really do have to demonstrate it to our kids. Because that is, my fear is that these kids are hearing all of these things and seeing all of these things on social media and on TV, and then they are taking them to school. And that's a really hard thing to combat, and I give the teachers and the principals and the superintendent a lot of credit for trying to think creatively how to deal with that. But it starts with the adults in the room. And so we just have to just continually beat the drum and hope that it starts to resonate and that people have had enough of what this has been for the last couple months.
Thank you.
Kristen?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the direction. I think in terms of bringing the two towns together, I think we have to look at the places, I think, where there are bright spots and build upon them. I mean, I think the opening of the high school fields recently is a great example of a time when both towns have come together in a real positive kind of community event. So I think to the extent there are opportunities to have those sort of joyful moments, we should expand upon them and capitalize on them. In terms of, the more tactical issues of trying to figure out which school and when and how much and who's first and will Wenham pay for Hamilton and will Hamilton pay for Wenham? I mean, I think those are difficult questions. I do think there is going to need to be another round of community feedback. And I think other kinds of solutions are going to have to be floated out there. My nephews attend school in Newburyport. There's multiple elementary schools in Newburyport, but they're divvied up by grade. So all of K and 1 is in one building, 2 and 3 is in another building, 4 and 5 is in another building. That would undoubtedly not be a popular possibility for some people here, and for others, it would probably be embraced. So I think some of those kinds of other ideas that we haven't explored yet are going to have to be brought to the fore and trying to talk about a plan B, for the facilities.
Thank you.
Yep.
I agree and echo a lot of what you just said. This is a great question. I think one of my strengths is being able to reach consensus when not everyone agrees, and I think that is something that will come into play here. I think the key to this, from my perspective, is enhanced community outreach to both advocate for district policies and priorities, but also to understand prevailing opinions, prevailing preferences of the constituents in town, to find common ground that everyone can get behind. Usually in evaluating a problem, I do not assume that I'm right. Sometimes I assume that I'm wrong. And try to understand all points of view, reevaluate, and find ways to work with people who have opposing viewpoints. These are skills that I think would be very helpful and put to good use as a member of the school committee at this time. I think this is also a tough question. It was clear in speaking to residents over the past year. It was clear to me that under the current region agreement, Wenham citizens are hesitant to approve funding for schools in Hamilton without any promise of reciprocity. And I think we need to find some solution that addresses that concern. And there is no easy answer to that question. No solution can favor just Wenham or just Hamilton or just the district. It needs to be a solution that, broadly the towns can get behind. And most important, not just the committees and the select boards, but also the constituents in town. I think this is a real challenge. And the school committee obviously has real work ahead to implement these solutions, to find and implement these solutions. And I think I would like to be part of that process. Community outreach and trust building, I think, is going to be a big part of how we move forward.
All right, thank you very much. The next question is from Gary, and I believe the order will be Ms. Noon, Mr. Hanson, and Ms. Holbrook.
What is your understanding of the current status of the regional agreement, and what are 2 or 3 issues that you believe are important that are or should be covered in the original agreement?
Thank you. So as we were moving towards the vote to approve the new school, I did take a look at the regional agreement at that time and again today, or in preparation for today. And I do think that it probably is a document that is ripe for revisiting. I think that it's difficult sometimes, in my experience, to make large policy changes when people are upset. Because the concern could be you're changing a policy to generate a certain outcome. So I think that changes to the regional agreement will need to proceed thoughtfully and in a way that balances the interests between the two towns. I think one of the main points of contention will be the percentage of vote required to incur debt or to incur expenditure. I think there was a lot of confusion around that, a lot of lack of trust, all kinds of issues that were created by, the town meeting vote followed by the ballot vote. And I think clarifying the process through which expenditures are going to be approved going forward in light of the community interest, state law should be a significant part of that agreement. I also know that the balance of enrollment is changing between the two towns. Is the rolling average of 3 years of enrollment the right number? Should it be more? Should it be less? I don't know. I think some of those apportionment questions are probably something to take a second look at as well. I think also maybe just the basics of the agreement of how often is it reviewed? How is it amended? Trying to revisit some of those things to maybe make some of these things less fraught as we move forward. Is that you?
I mean, it's hard to disagree with any of that. I think in reading the regional agreement, it is a bit sloppy. It's out of date, and it's not very fulsome. So in going through the recent votes, someone asked me to take a look at the agreement and, what happens if the vote fails? What's the next steps? The agreement is completely silent on that. And any strong agreement between two towns that is going to govern going forward should have answers to all of those problems. You should never look at a contract and have there be gaps there where you do not understand what the next steps are or what the available options are. So whether or not it's out of date with state law and needs to be updated, or, it can be out of date with state law as long as it's a conscious choice. And I very much agree that changing it in the middle of a vote is a very difficult thing to do. And so, again, with what I said before, community outreach on this point is going to be extremely important. So finding, not just in the vote percentages, but I do 100% agree that will be a big part of it. But just in generally how the agreement is structured, how budgeting is structured, all of that needs to be reevaluated and a much more fulsome agreement put in place.
I don't know that I can improve much on what Kristen and Will said, but I will say that I do think that the recent sort of conversation around the school agreement and how it impacted the various votes and kinds of things. I think people in town don't totally understand the regional school agreement or the regional agreement, and I think it's kind of boring and dry, so people don't want to take the time to understand it because it's boring and dry, but it turns out it actually really means something, right? And so if there is a way to elucidate the important points of it and explain to people how it does actually impact them and their families and the way the towns operate. I don't know how you do that, but I think people feel slightly suspicious right now. I think people are like, oh, well, people didn't get what they wanted the first time, so we tried for a second time, and then we tried for a third time. And the truth of it was all above board, but as Will said, there wasn't a lot of guidance about what was allowed or not allowed. And so people are just, I think, confused and maybe slightly, suspicious is a strong word. So I think what, as Kristen and Will said, we need, better ways to communicate to the community about what it is, what it means, what it includes, what is possible going forward, and then explain to them how it really does matter to them, even though it's, might not be the most exciting reading on a Wednesday night.
All right, thank you. I think back to the school committee for some additional questions.
So, yeah, at our meeting, we had approved some additional questions, and I will leave it fully to the committee. You have them in front of you if anyone feels like they want to ask any of those questions.
I'd like to ask the first
Yep,
one.
go ahead.
In April, interim appointee will have the option to run for election to continue on the committee. Do you intend to run?
Sure. Yes, I would intend to run if I was appointed to the position. I'm very aware of the time commitment that this entails. Life is busy. I have a very demanding job and 3 very demanding children. And I thought long and hard about applying because I understand what is required and the sacrifice that it entails. I don't do anything half-heartedly, and I want to help and be of service. And I think I have what it takes to succeed here. So if appointed, I am all in. I'll happily give the time and energy, and I would intend to run in April.
My intention, if selected, would be to run unless things went catastrophically sideways and it turns out that I was like a terrible fit for this or something. So I do want to make sure that if I'm selected, that I am helpful to the board and that I am the right fit and that I'm helping move things forward. But barring, again, some kind of disaster, I would plan to continue to engage.
I would say the same. Yes.
I would actually also like to ask the second question, even though I think Will kind of addressed it, but I'd also like to ask that one if we can.
Sure. I've lost track of who's first, but I think it's Julie.
Yes, it's fine. All right, Julie, for you. So there's a substantial time commitment to serving on the school committee. We meet as a whole in person twice monthly, generally on Thursday evenings. Members serve on at least one subcommittee as well. There's a significant time investment in preparing for meetings. Please speak to your ability to commit to this level of participation.
So actually, I think I maybe slightly addressed this in my opening remarks, but my kids are now at the age where they are a lot more independent than they used to be. My daughter is away in college, my son is in high school and driving, and so I am finding myself with a lot more free time in the evenings and on the weekends than I used to have. Short of basketball season potentially approaching. And so that's one of the reasons why I sort of submitted a letter of interest now, is because I feel like I am at a place where I do have the capacity to spend the time needed to prepare and review and pour over materials and things.
Thank you. The next step.
Yes, I also feel that I have the time to do this. I am busy, with my family and kids and their obligations and everything. I do not work full time. I work slightly less than full time. So I do feel as though, after kind of starting with my current role, last year, that I'm at a place where I have some time where I can invest that, back into community or volunteer, commitments that I'm interested in.
Yes, I would have saved some of what I said in the last response. But yes, I understand the time commitment. Life is very busy right now, and I certainly don't have as much free time as I think Julie is implying. But I understand what is required, and I'll be there.
Great, thank you so much.
All right, great. So that brings us to follow-up questions where we want to give any member of either board the opportunity to ask any follow-up question if they wish. No one has to, but these would not be new questions, but follow-ups to answers that the candidates have already given. And if you do have a follow-up question and it's directed just to one or two of the candidates as opposed to everybody, please so indicate in your question. Does anybody have any follow-up questions they'd like to ask? Right.
No. Did you want to ask the final? Did you have a question?
I can ask the final question.
Yeah, we did have another question on there.
Oh, okay.
So do you guys have any questions for us?
Back to me. I don't think so. Dana was super nice to offer, to discuss before today what it means to be on the school committee, and it was a very helpful conversation, and I don't think I have any other questions at this time.
Okay, all right. I would just, ask if anyone on the committee has a thought of something you wish you knew before you started the school committee that you know now.
Having thrown my hat into the ring in February of 2020, there are quite a few things I wish I knew. Sorry. That was
Do you want to go? I want to answer that too. Do you want to go?
Yeah. How much a good superintendent and administrative staff
That was my answer.
is, it can either make or break a district. And we've had both. We've had ones that have out and out lied to us, and we've had really great ones. And the experience working with the really great ones versus the really bad one is night and day.
I would say literal exact same thing. I didn't know the importance of a reliable superintendent that is willing to stand up for what they believe in and willing to answer questions and willing to, dedicate the time. I guess I just didn't really understand that. I think there's a lot of things I've learned. The budgeting process is not, it's difficult in the beginning, but it's not as intimidating. I think I lost some sleep over it when I first started because I was worried to ask the wrong question. But really, there's no stupid questions. And if you have a question, then a member of the public is thinking it, or one of us is probably thinking it. So that's really important too, is just come with good intentions and you'll be fine. Else?
I think, Julie, you.
So
ask
this
a
is
question.
specifically for the school committee members. What is the most rewarding part of being on the school committee? I know I can only imagine what the most challenging pieces of this are, but just to end on a positive note.
So I was involved with the athletic fields project from the beginning of that, and seeing that come to fruition and seeing all the community members and the school committee members and the parents and the athletes, that was pretty darn amazing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, that was just like, I walked away from that day on cloud nine.
That's cool.
That would have been my answer to that, the feeling of being there, not the actual project itself, but the feeling of being there on that night.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been my answer too.
I love when we have students, we'll have students come here and talk about the different clubs and the different things that they've achieved. I go to graduation every year, and it's just a really nice reminder of why we're setting policy, reviewing the budget, all that stuff. It's all about the students, really. So I think we do a good job of making sure we get to see the students and their work. I have children in the system, but it's also nice to meet kids I don't know and get their input.
I would say learning new things that I would never have probably taken the time to go as deep into the weeds. And then really feeling like I can have educated conversations with people about very specific things. I think for me that's helpful because I do come up from that place of passion very often, where my emotions kind of take over, but to be able to have data to back it or experience to back it or things that have happened or documentation, I think is really helpful for me to be able to make decisions. But just getting in the weeds has really been rewarding and learning about things, even if I wasn't necessarily interested in them, and then sort of became interested in them.
I learned a lot about soil testing this past year.
Soil testing.
All right. Thank you all very much. We're going to ask you to return to the gallery behind you.
Thank you. That's hard.
All right, so now we're going to enter a deliberative session as a joint body, and there's certainly no requirement that anyone comment publicly on their impressions before we vote, but we did want to have the opportunity for public comment amongst the members of the board in a deliberative session if anybody wishes to do that. And if no one does, we'll move to the vote. But why don't we leave it open for anyone who wishes to speak before a vote?
I'll just say, as someone who sat there 4 months ago, this is incredibly difficult. We had 3 amazing candidates tonight, very well prepared, very, very well prepared. And so this is going to be a very, very difficult decision. But I very much thank everyone for putting in the time and showing up today. Thank you so much.
I just wanted, I mean, the level of preparation of all three candidates was really remarkable. Like, that was an impressive work on all three parts.
Gary?
Yeah, I would echo that and say that certainly the school committee is going to be the beneficiary of a very excellent member, no matter who ends up being picked here. I hope the public has a chance to see the superlative resumes presented, and it's nice to see although it's a competition, it's nice to see more than one person come out for a particular committee slot, and I'd like to see that spread to the other world as well.
I would just echo that.
Deirdre?
Yes, I would like to thank all three candidates for coming forward. I think it has not been easy to be on this school committee, particularly over the past year. And the fact that you are all willing and brave enough to put yourselves forward demonstrates the commitment, the interest, and the passion that you have for this. So I am extremely grateful. I am very proud of Wenham this evening because I think all three of you are exceptionally qualified and have been exceptionally articulate and well-prepared, as the others have said. I'm just so proud to be from Wenham tonight, so I thank you for that also. And I'm going to make a pitch because unfortunately we can only take one of you and there are three, but I would love to have all of you involved in town, and I'm just going to say we have other vacancies, notably on the FinCom, and if two of you unfortunately cannot be selected tonight, pick something else because we'd love to have all of you. So thank you very much.
Anyone else? I'll just echo the same thing. I was really impressed with all three of you and appreciate the preparation that you put in, the thought that you put into your decision even to apply, understanding the time commitment, and the research that a lot of you clearly did on some of the specific issues that are front and center right now. And similar to what Deirdre said, you know, for the two of you who don't get the appointment, I hope you'll stay involved, including in school matters, and you know, there may be other opportunities on the school committee down the line, depending on what, you know, people do for reelection and so on. So I hope that the two of you who don't make it won't be discouraged, because any one of you would be an excellent appointment to this vacancy. So I think that will bring us to the vote and the way that is going to proceed. And again, Dana and I worked very cooperatively on this, and I had the benefit of learning from Dana as to how this was done just, you know, a few short months ago when, Megan, you were selected. So each member of the school committee and select board will be asked to publicly state his or her top two candidates of the three. And Dana has the unenviable job of tallying those votes. And so based on that round, obviously there'll be two candidates, or maybe not so obvious, because I don't know if there could end up being a tie. We'll find out.
And we'll deliberate more, I guess.
Right. But there will, at the end of that, presumably be two finalists. And then there'll be a second round of voting where each member of the two boards are asked to select the top choice from amongst the two, and that will determine the winner. So,
Anybody have any questions on that? Everyone understands?
That makes sense.
Yep, going to go around and say your top two in no particular order.
great. All right, and I think just in terms of custom, each of the chairs probably should vote last, you know, after each of their members, if that's fine with you, Dana. So why don't we start with David, and then we'll skip over Dana, and we'll go around, we'll skip over me, and then Dana and I will give our votes at the end.
All right.
So, David, if you could tell us your top two candidates, please.
Sure. I think my top two are Will Hanson and Kristen Zune.
Noon.
Noon.
Kristen Noon.
And-
Yes, sorry,
Yep, yep.
I've written it down.
We're going to skip me.
And I would just echo the remarks of all of you that we are very blessed to have that quality of candidate across all of them.
Kristen and Julie?
All right.
Deirdre?
Kristen and Will.
Will and Kristen.
I couldn't hear you.
Will and Kristen.
Kristen and Will.
Kristen and Julie?
Kristen and Will.
Kristen and Julie.
Kristen, I'm sorry.
Julie.
Kristen and Julie, okay. Okay,
Kristen and Will.
all right, and Dana is Will and Kristen. So the top two are Will with 8 and Kristen with 11. So those are our top two.
Can you repeat that, please?
Sure. The top two are Will with 8 and Kristen with 11.
What?
Correct. Which is, I mean, I'm going to move on. The next is to vote, but I will note that does actually mean that everyone selected Kristen, correct? There are 11 of us.
I think that's right, yes.
So do it again? Would you guys go on last?
Well, go ahead.
I think we might as well, just for the process, we'll
Yep.
go ahead and, all right, so the two finalists are Kristen Noon and Will Hanson, and now we'll have a vote to select the top choice. And then, by the way, just so everyone knows, once that vote is complete, Dana and I will entertain a motion from somebody on the board to move to appoint that individual. But that'll come after this round of voting.
No, and I guess, obviously, it could come out either way. I guess that doesn't mean anything. I guess that they were all, so.
Okay.
Do you want to do the same order,
Sure, why don't we do that?
David?
I think Kristen.
Kristen.
Kristen?
Deirdre?
Kristen.
Will.
Kristen.
Kristen?
Will.
Kristen.
Kristen?
Is that me? I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Kristen. And so
You want me
that
to make a
is
motion?
9-2, with Kristen coming out on the top.
So I move to appoint Kristen Noon to Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee for the term ending to the date of the next town election in April 2026.
Gary seconds.
All right, so we'll take a vote of the, I think we can, since we're meeting in joint session, we can get everyone's vote on that same motion.
I think so, yeah.
So I'll just do a roll call of the select board, Dana, and then if you want to do a roll call of the
Sure.
school committee. So we have a motion and a second to appoint Kristen Noon to the school committee for the term ending through the date of the next town election in April 2026. And Peter, what's your vote?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Deirdre?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
And Ben is yes.
And we will do a roll call vote as well, just to be consistent. David?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Julia?
Yes.
Dana is a yes, and that is unanimous of the 6 members present. And the motion passes.
Excellent. Congratulations, Kristen. And thank you very much, Julie and Will, for your excellent presentations. I think at this point, Dana, it'll be your turn to adjourn your meeting.
I think before I just want to just say, I know we said it already, but truly, it's, I think, rare that you get a choice where you really feel like it's not going to be a bad outcome no matter what. That's, I think, very rare in sort of the world today, so that was really lovely, and thank you. And I will ask Kristen if you could stay. So I can, and now I will take a motion.
Oh, do we need to adjourn first, or do you need to adjourn?
No, they're going to stay.
We're going to stay.
Going.
Oh, okay. I move that the Hamilton Wenham Regional School District, the committee adjourn at 7:55. No, 8:50.
I just need to say that we-
I can't tell time.
7:50.
I can't see that.
7:50.
Sorry. 7:50.
Did I get a second? All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, and as for the select board, we have no old business, to my understanding, other matters that may have not been anticipated by the chair. Does anybody know of any business from the select board? Seeing none, entertain a motion to adjourn the select board meeting.
The upcoming schedule for November.
Sure.
I was just thinking that, Gary.
Yep. Okay.
Can we do it from now until the end of the, or until January if possible? just
Sure,
from
we'll
a
probably
holiday
want
perspective?
Steve to come back to the table. We're talking dates, meeting dates. What are we doing? Going over the rest of the year's select board meeting dates. So we've already got, do we have the 4th scheduled, or?
Yeah, I think tentatively we talked about the 4th and 18th for November. We didn't talk about November's date.
The 4th is election day.
Is there any election though?
Well, we have do we have primaries?
I don't think there's any election.
Do we have state?
Someone said that in email, but then Diane looked into it. She said we have no election.
Oh, well, Diane's the guru, so I'd go with whatever she says.
All right, so the 4th and
And where is it? Is it
the
here?
18th.
That flows into 2 and 16, because otherwise you don't want to do Christmas.
Right. 2 and 6, yeah, 2 and 16.
4 and 18? Is that November?
November 4th, November 18th, December 2nd, and December 16th, as long as those dates are fine for everybody.
The 16th doesn't work for me, but
Well, otherwise, you can't push to the 23rd.
Yeah.
Day before Christmas, or day before
2 days,
Christmas
yeah.
Eve.
Yep. Okay, so I think we gotta stick with those.
yeah, I just can't go.
All right, good. So I think we've done that. So motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
And then we don't have another meeting until the 6th of January, so we have 3.5 weeks to go by.
That looks
month
to be
goes
the
by?
case, yeah. Yep, right, with the holidays, so.
And we got the budget day on 6th December, right? Saturday?
What's that?
The
Yes,
budget is
December
on
6th.
December 6th.
Okay. All right, I think we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Aye, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Steve, do we have to do the